Friday was the OPEC and non-OPEC members meet at Vienna. We have with us David Lennox. He's a resource analyst at Fat Profits. He joins us now on the phone line. David, hi. Thanks for joining in right here on ET. Now the verdict is out. And as expected, yes, it looks like the OPEC and non-OPEC members will be gradually hiking their output. 2017, of course, had seen them cutting their output by more than 1.5 million barrels per day. But the worry and the question, of course, is that do you believe this lifting of curbs may not be sufficient to plug the deficit that did come about on account of the curbs put in place for the output?
Oh, certainly, if you have a look at the market reaction to the announcement, markets were expecting to see somewhat of a higher figure coming out of OPEC in terms of increased production. In fact, it does look as though the meeting may have been a little more difficult than markets were expecting, and we've seen a compromise between those members who wished production to remain as is, and of course the Saudis and the Russians who were looking to increase production by about 1 to 1.5 million barrels. Ultimately, the middle line was taken, and we will see OPEC lift production by about 1 million barrels. Going forward, we will now be watching very closely the demand side of the equation, because the pundits at OPEC said that they were increasing production to meet growing demand. So that's now going to become the close factors that we will be watching going forward. From our perspective, we really haven't at this point in time seen a significant uplift in demand, so we are going to be watching extremely closely.
Right, and you know, while OPEC and Russia have agreed on the deal, and even Saudi Arabia said that they would, in fact, they've pledged measurable oil supply boost, if I may say so. But there's a bit of a vagueness still as far as the numbers are concerned, as far as the key oil producers are concerned in terms of output. What is your expectation, and what kind of a level are you predicting?
Look, at this point in time, one really only has to look at the overall production number rather than trying to guess which particular countries may or may not be increasing or decreasing production. We do think that because the decision was made within OPEC, and generally in the past they've never done this before where they've decided on changing, they've generally just gone ahead and done it. We think that there will be opportunity for the total production to lift gradually up to about 800,000 barrels. We do think that once that occurs, we will see the market somewhat settle down, especially in Brent, at probably between, we think, $70 and $74 just in the near term. However, if we have a look at our end-of-year price for Brent, we still are sitting at an end-of-year price of $74 to $84. So we will also be looking for, as I said, that increase in demand to come through over the course of the next 3 or 4 months.
Right. David actually answered my next question. I was going to ask you about where would you witness average Brent prices. But let's talk about the other side of the equation, and that's the United States. We have seen them essentially, if you put it this way, taking advantage of these output curbs that the OPEC and non-OPEC members have put in place. Their output has surged to record high levels, even for that matter, surpassing Russia's own, output. And that's something that has caused the Brent WTI, the difference between Brent and WTI as well to widen significantly. How do you see U.S. production and WTI essentially move going forward on account of this meeting and the conclusion that has taken place?
Well, certainly we've seen over the course of 2018 domestic production inside the U.S. Climbed by about 1.6 million barrels from this time 12 months ago, up to now sitting at just over that 10.5 to 10.9 million barrels. We would expect through the course of the rest of this year, if we do see OPEC production increasing, that we will see some competition now for foreign markets, especially in the Asian region. So that may see somewhat of a slip back in domestic production. Either that, or as we've seen through the course of a lot of this year, and a decline in US inventories, we may start to see that inventory number actually reverse and start to rise. If that's the case, we'd expect to see some further pressure on the WTI price compared to the Brent, and we would expect to see that premium, which did get as high as $9 or just over, would expect it to remain quite high through the course of 2000 and the rest of 2018.